In the crucible of the Second World War, the German Panzer Force became the stuff of legend. Names like Panther, Tiger, and King Tiger were whispered across battlefields with a mix of awe and dread. To German tank crews, these machines were not just weapons, they were symbols of dominance. Thick, sloped armor, high-velocity cannons, precision optics. For a time, the Panzers truly were the apex predators of armored warfare. From the wide steppes of the Eastern Front to the open deserts of North Africa, German crews believed they had reached the pinnacle of tank design. Their confidence bordered on arrogance. They expected their enemies to break, burn, and flee before them. That confidence extended into how they viewed American armor. The United States, they believed, simply did not understand armored warfare. The ubiquitous M4 Sherman was dismissed as undergunned, thin-skinned, and inferior in almost every way that mattered in a tank duel. German gunners were trained to kill it from extreme range. Panzer crews often spoke of Shermans with professional contempt, seeing them as disposable machines, crewed by inexperienced opponents. But war has a way of humbling even the most confident armies. As the fighting spread from Africa to Italy, from Normandy's hedgerows to the frozen forests of the Ardennes, something changed. The Germans began encountering American vehicles that didn't behave as expected. Vehicles that moved faster, hit harder, or simply refused to die. The Americans, it turned out, didn't rely on a single answer to German armor. They brought an entire system to the battlefield, an arsenal of armored vehicles, each designed with a specific role in mind and deployed with ruthless coordination. In German after-action reports and post-war memoirs, the tone gradually shifted. Arrogance gave way to caution. Dismissal turned into respect. And in some cases, respect hardened into genuine fear. This is the story of the American armored vehicles that taught the Panzer crews a new lesson, that dominance could be challenged and fear could flow both ways. To rank these machines, we aren't simply looking at which tank had the biggest gun or the thickest armor. We are viewing them through the eyes of the enemy. Our first criterion is psychological impact. Which vehicles unnerved German commanders enough to force changes in tactics or inspire specific warnings? Second is lethality. How capable was the vehicle of destroying Panthers or Tigers in real combat conditions? And third is strategic threat. Which vehicles appeared in sufficient numbers and were used with the right doctrine to pose a consistent, war-altering danger to the Panzer Force? Before we begin, we must acknowledge the undisputed workhorse of the American armored force, the standard M4 Sherman. German tankers did not fear the Sherman as an individual machine, but they deeply feared what it represented. According to historian Steven Zaloga, German crews respected the Sherman's fast turret traverse and its gyro stabilizer, but they knew their Panthers and Tigers could destroy it from over a mile away. What terrified them was something else entirely. For every Tiger tank Germany produced, the United States built nearly 40 Shermans. German crews weren't afraid of the tank. They were afraid of the factory that built it, and of the endless flanking maneuvers carried out by entire platoons of Shermans that would eventually overwhelm even the strongest Panzer. Kicking off our list is a vehicle that technically wasn't a tank at all, but whose speed and audacity made it a persistent battlefield menace. The M8 light armored car, better known as the Greyhound. As the primary reconnaissance vehicle of U.S. cavalry squadrons, the Greyhound's role was to see first, strike fast, and vanish. German tank columns found themselves constantly harassed by lightning-quick Greyhound raids against their flanks and rear supply lines. Its 37mm gun was useless against a Panther's armor, but devastating against fuel trucks, ammunition carriers, and exposed infantry. To the slow-moving German heavy tanks, the Greyhounds were ghosts. They appeared suddenly, caused chaos, and disappeared before retaliation was possible. In one legendary, though debated, incident during the Battle of the Bulge, an M8 crew reportedly used its speed to get behind a massive King Tiger, firing multiple rounds into its thin rear armor and knocking it out. Whether entirely true or not, the story perfectly captures the fear the Greyhound inspired. It was never about brute force. It was about speed, unpredictability, and the unsettling knowledge that American eyes were always watching. By 1944, Panther and Tiger crews had grown dangerously confident in their encounters with the standard Sherman. They expected easy kills. Then came the M4 Sherman, armed with the 76mm gun. At first glance, it looked almost identical, but this Sherman carried a deadly surprise. The high-velocity 76mm M1 cannon fundamentally changed the equation. While the Panther's sloped frontal hull remained extremely difficult to penetrate, the 76mm gun could punch through the Panther's turret mantlet at typical combat ranges. Suddenly, German crews could no longer sit exposed behind their guns with impunity. This uncertainty was magnified by the introduction of HVAP ammunition. These rounds were rare. Most crews carried only one or two, but their mere existence was enough to sow fear. A German tanker never knew if the Sherman facing him was carrying that one lethal shot. The Sherman 76 didn't always win, but it shattered the illusion of safety. It transformed easy prey into a lurking threat, forcing Panzer crews to fight more cautiously than ever before. Holding the number 3 spot is the fastest tracked armored vehicle of the entire war, the M18 Hellcat. The Hellcat was the purest expression of American tank destroyer doctrine: seek, strike, and destroy. Designed from a clean sheet with no compromises, it sacrificed armor for one thing above all else: speed. Powered by a radial aircraft engine, the Hellcat could reach speeds that stunned German crews. It could reposition faster than a Panzer turret could traverse. Armed with a 76mm gun, the Hellcat was lethal against the side armor of any German tank. Its doctrine emphasized ambush and rapid disengagement. German tankers, trained to fight other heavy tanks head-on, found the Hellcat deeply unsettling. It refused to fight on their terms. A shell would slam into their flank, and before they could react, the Hellcat was already gone. Post-war German assessments noted that the Hellcat's extreme mobility made it both difficult to target and psychologically unnerving. Tankers learned to fear the sound of a radial engine fading into the distance after delivering a killing blow. It was a phantom they simply could not catch. As the Battle of the Bulge erupted and German Panthers and King Tigers smashed into American lines, a new threat appeared just in time to challenge them: the 90mm gun motor carriage M36, nicknamed the Jackson. Built on a Sherman chassis with thin armor, the M36 was a classic glass cannon. But it carried something German crews were not prepared for: the high-velocity 90mm M3 gun. This weapon shocked the Panzer force. Panthers that had felt invulnerable were suddenly being destroyed from over 1,000 yards away. With specialized HVAP ammunition, the M36 could even penetrate the frontal armor of the dreaded King Tiger. German crews often had no warning. The Jackson operated from concealed positions, striking from ambush with devastating accuracy. The realization that the Americans now possessed a gun capable of killing their heaviest tanks at long range was a severe blow to German morale. The M36 was not just another tank destroyer, it was a dedicated assassin, and its presence forced German commanders to advance with extreme caution. Taking the #1 spot is not the tank with the biggest gun, but the tank the Germans simply could not kill, the M4A3E2 Sherman Jumbo. The Jumbo shattered every assumption German crews held about American tanks. Designed as an assault vehicle, it was up-armored to an almost absurd degree. An additional 1.5 inches of armor plate was welded to its front, giving it over 100 millimeters of frontal protection, rivaling that of a Tiger I. Its reinforced turret featured a gun mantlet nearly 7 inches thick, turning it into a moving fortress. German gunners, accustomed to slicing through Shermans, were horrified when their shells bounced harmlessly off the Jumbo's armor. After-action reports described Jumbos absorbing repeated hits from Panthers and even Tigers while continuing to advance. These vehicles were used at the front of attacks, deliberately drawing enemy fire, while more vulnerable but harder-hitting tank destroyers maneuvered into position. To a German gunner, there was nothing more terrifying than watching a perfectly aimed shot ricochet off an enemy tank that just kept coming. The Jumbo didn't just survive. It broke the psychological contract of armored warfare. It proved that American tanks could endure punishment once thought exclusive to German heavies. In doing so, it shattered the Panzer crew's sense of technological superiority. The Jumbo became a weapon of morale as much as steel, an unstoppable presence that turned confidence into fear. The Greyhound's speed, the Sherman 76's surprise, the Hellcat's phantom tactics, the Jackson's shocking power, and the Jumbo's sheer toughness each challenged the myth of Panzer dominance in a different way. Together, they tell a larger story. American armored success was never about building a single perfect tank. It was about fielding a diverse, pragmatic force designed to fight as a system. These were the machines that taught the masters of Blitzkrieg a new kind of fear. Which American armored vehicle do you think was the most effective? Did we get the ranking right? Let us know in the comments below. And for more deep dives into the machines of war, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.